Hi, so I'm Liz. I want to talk to you today about how legalisation could have a positive impact on mental health. So there's a lot of concerns about how cannabis impacts mental health and generally what concerns legalisation would have on mental health. So just to give you an overview of the current state of affairs in the UK, we know that among adults and young people, cannabis-related mental health presentations have more than doubled in the past 10 years. Meanwhile, high-potency varieties of cannabis have increasingly dominated the market over the past 10 years. And by high potency, I mean cannabis, which is high in THC, the chemical that gets used as high, and low in CBD, the chemical that mitigates against THC's harmful effects. And in the media, this type of cannabis is typically labelled as skunk. So there's now a strong evidence base that the use of high-potency cannabis, particularly at a young age, can have a detrimental impact on mental well-being. And it's very likely that the dramatic increase in cannabis-related mental health presentations is due to rising potency. So the question is, with the current system we have, what can we do about that? So Volteface have consulted and asked and spoken to experts from the policing and criminal justice sector, and we said to them, okay, so what tools do we have at our disposal to control the potency of cannabis in the UK? And basically said there's nothing really we can do. So though the police may try and interrupt supply, however briefly, it is the illicit market which fundamentally decides what products are sold on our streets. So then we also asked them, so what can be done to restrict access to cannabis, particularly among young people, as we know that early use of high-potency cannabis can have a detrimental effect on well-being. So what can we do to restrict access if we can't control potency? And again, they said, well, nothing much really. The general consensus is that if a young person wanted to, it would take them 30 seconds to find someone who would be able to sell them cannabis. So we spoke to these experts and they kind of said, as it stands, we don't really have any tools at our disposal to restrict access to high-potency cannabis. And in fact, constabularies have come to the conclusion that they cannot police their way out of this problem. And there's now an increasing consensus that the best thing the police can be doing right now when it comes to cannabis offences is just to stop arresting people. So the case I'm making is that by legalising cannabis, regulation will become our tool. So we could implement minimum unit pricing or graduated taxation on higher potency products to encourage the supply of lower potency products. And equally, we could introduce strict retail policies which prevent young people from being able to buy cannabis. Whether this is a tool which would be used is another question. So I'm not saying that by legalising cannabis, we would have a de facto decline in potency or straight away prevent young people from being able to access that cannabis, because fundamentally change will be dependent on the willingness of regulators to enforce it. However, that opportunity would be there, and currently we have nothing at our disposal. Failing to act is knowingly turning a blind eye to the harm that unregulated cannabis inflicts on communities.